So, good morning, evening, afternoon,
Afternoon.
wherever you guys are. I'm currently in Netherlands, so it's an evening, and for Robert, it's a little bit earlier. He's in St. Louis. So again, tonight I'm having Robert Acree here with me to talk about value networks. He has a long history in the frozen confections world, working for Unilever and Ben and Jerry's and Yasso and whoever, setting up operations and factories for them. So I'll give him a space in a second, but I want to give a quick background on why we're doing these calls. And so it's about 3D value networks. And for me, it's a very pivotal story in a lot of companies or a lot of businesses where people are normally focused on their own slice first before they're actually trying to start creating a bigger pie for everybody to begin with. So I'm a big believer in working together and coming together and creating value for everybody, and that's why I call it value networks, and especially value networks within 3D printing. So, but somebody might ask at this point, like, what on earth would a value network and 3D printing and ice cream have in common? And I will get to that later once I dial in with Robert with my key 4 questions. But here, before we start, I'm going to give Robert a 1-minute introduction that he can introduce himself. What is he doing now? What is his? I gave already a little spiel and a little background, but if you can, Robert, tell us who you are, what do you do, and why are you here?
Well, I'm currently doing consulting work in the food manufacturing field. My specialty is in dairy novelties, but I'm working on other novelties that are non-dairy these days. So that's where I am today. But it's been about 25 years plus that I've worked at numerous ice cream facilities and dairy facilities throughout the United States, from was mentioned, Ben & Jerry's, where I started in this business, to the West Coast with Foster Dairy Farms, and then also with Unilever, where I worked at 2 locations for Unilever through my tenure there. In those years, I've learned all the different aspects of different ways to shape and mold bars, whether they be extruded bars or whether they be molded bars, and come up with uniqueness that seems to sell the best when it comes to any kind of confectionery, whether it's dairy or water ice. We consider this water ice in the United States. So what I've seen, the little bit of the opportunity here is it is a difference maker, I feel, and that as we discuss further in this little conversation, that I think there's some attributes here that can benefit people looking at this and seeing that it's a good opportunity to add another product portfolio to what they're currently making, because it gives them some value added and at a lower cost. That's a conventional way of doing it now.
Got it. So Robert already went a little bit, talking about our technology here, but the reason why we're specifically interested in setting up a value network in the food industry, and specifically in the frozen confections industry, is due to our 3D TI technology that we have been developing for the last 5 years. I mean, personally, I had absolutely no experience in setting up factories, and I also had no experience in food business, not to mention the ice cream business. So we kind of jumped into a cold lake on creating a totally new way of creating frozen confections. But in order for these kinds of ideas to get any kind of traction, get wings under them, we have to find the right experts around us and creating the value network. And I don't just mean people from let's say top level or mid level or so forth, but you need everybody from the janitor to the producer to the marketing person to the salespeople to the retailers, everybody, in order for one of these concepts to become reality. So that's basically what we're busy with now with 3D TI, creating a value network of partners. And Robert has been very, very helpful for us to understand how it is to actually set up a professional ice cream factory instead of doing it the way that we would do it when we actually knew absolutely nothing about it. So I have a few hopefully interesting key questions for Robert today, like I have for everybody for our 15-minute dialogue here. And my first question is, within our 3D TI technology, we're able to make any shape under the sun. But what is the benefit, Robert, in your mind, in a frozen confection product, when you compare a totally new type of design to the products which are on the shelves today?
Well, I say, in my opinion, the current shape products lack imagination and creativity. It's basically the same wherever you go and wherever you look in a retail section. It's the same shapes, just done by a different manufacturer with different colors, different flavors. But there's been very little forward movement on the shape of it to give more shapes of these products. It uses today's uses trends and fads which have an expiration date. If you were to use a example of a movie premiere or a relative fad out there in the society, and you wanted to make it an image of that so you can sell a product based on that image, today's way of doing it, you have to get a mold, which is usually stainless. Most time it's only stainless steel, and you have to get that produced to whatever design and shape you want it for. And that's that's a pretty steep capital expenditure, and plus it takes time, and then you have to develop the product and go forward to that. The new 3D shapes available through this innovative technology allow manufacturers to take the idea to reality in a short period of time. If you have the imagination of what you want the product to look like, this technology has the ability to take that from paper to reality, picture to reality. And then on the go ahead. You want to ask a question?
But what would it mean for the industry? Because again, what I understand is that it takes you a lot of time, let's say 1.5 to 2 years for a big company to develop a new product, and then it will take them another 12 months to get into high volume retail sales. You're looking at like a couple of years to 3 years off before a product is on the shelf. So what would it mean if you can literally, pick on that trend, whatever movie that is coming out, or, the Oscars, or somebody won something or whatever, and the next day you're able to come up with a new product in any shape, size, flavor, ingredient, all of that. So what from a larger scope, I would say, what would it mean for the industry?
Well, you mentioned the time that it takes right now. It does take in the larger corporate producers a long time to get this through the process, get the correct molds ordered, get the designs that they want, and sometimes because of the lack of getting the correct design that you want through a stainless steel mold, it's not going to give that same distinctness of what the product you want to look like. I mean, there are some shortfalls to that, but okay. I think in the long run, what it does is it takes out, it gives that added advantage to the sales and marketing people to go out there and get that reality out there, whatever that example, like said, of a movie release. As soon as that movie starts to buzz in the industry, they can get that out far before a movie release, that movie is released. So they create that buzz before it, and then they can hang on to that movie release product for an extended period of time. So they've got a longer, what I call shelf life with that product, based upon getting it through the molded 3D molding platform versus the standard stainless steel molds.
Got it. So it's basically the tooling costs have been hindering the entire industry to grow. Like like other industries, like, okay, tomorrow I can make myself a new T-shirt in 5 minutes. So you have not had that opportunity yet. So also those opportunities, how to use that kind of open platform, I can imagine for especially the industry insiders, it's a very alien. They might not even know what to do with it yet.
Yeah, I don't think it has. It hasn't been broadly explained to them about how this technology works. So it's basically, it has to be understood before they make the decision to go this way. But I think for new technology and for something that's a paradigm shift in the industry, this seems to be right now in the frozen confectionery minus dairy. It seems to be the way that the manufacturers that aren't as big as the major ones can get into this business at a lower cost, because they won't have to be changing out molds all the time and purchasing new molds based on the new shapes that they want to produce.
Yeah, got it. So it kind of opens up an opportunity for
opportunities for everybody.
Yeah, everybody, so you're kind of empowering the smaller people, the middle people, the big parties, whoever to make whatever they want. So, and that's of course the bigger mission that we've been on with this journey, is that we throughout my entire design career, I'd be more interested in empowering people and giving them tools to create rather than dictating them, with a product that they would have to buy. So, but of course, some industries are harder to kind of push through than others, and frozen confection. Of course, if I would have known what I know now 5 years ago, I probably would not even started, because you start realizing how complicated it is, and, trying to change these factories, these industries, the retailers, the logistics, all of that, So it's a big one, but also we know what the benefit at the end of the day is, so we're very confident to push through. But let me ask another key point, which is also homework assignments for ourselves. So let's assume that there would be a exciting new 3D product, let's say shape of a strawberry, for example, and next to that you would have the existing popsicle, also made from strawberries, but the same shape that they've been making for the last 100 years. And there would be, let's say, the same brand on the same shelf, same height, same everything, same ingredients, same price. Which would sell better and why?
Well, price is always a deterrent.
But if they were the same price, everything is the same. This is a new exciting 3D shape, and this is the old stuff, then where would the consumer gravitate to in your mind, and why?
Well, I can give you a couple examples. When I worked at Unilever, we did a product called it was Crayola crayons. So the box looked like crayons of popsicles, and that was a big seller because it showed a version of that. So it's a visual thing. So it's the eyes that kind of sell that. So that if you could get a product on the shelf, consumers buy a lot of products by eyes, the visual, because if you have boxes or pints or whatever on the shelf, especially on novelties, you're looking at 25 to 50 of them if you walk down the aisle. So you got to grab something that catches your eye. And when you have a shape, people look at shapes. And so I think that's the first step, is the marketing part or the packaging part that reflects what they're going to get. And then they would purchase that. And then if it's something that they like, that it tastes good, it's cold, and it's good for you, because you can make these good for you too, then they go back, and the shape does make a difference, because it kind of gives a value added to the product, and like you said earlier, with pricing about the same between that product and the product next to it, that's the conventional molded product that's been around for 25 or 50 years. So I think when you're doing this, when you're thinking about it, it's just how it's going to attract the eyes of the consumer when they go down through the retail aisle, and to see these things that are shaped differently than the products that have been on the shelf in the case for many, many years.
Yeah. Yeah, but next in line for us obviously is our test. And we've been testing events, we've tested theme parks, we've done a lot of different categories that we have tested, and we have not done retail yet, which is going to be coming next. We're about to start launching these tests shortly. So my question to you on that: if you had a blank canvas to enter the frozen confection market, with this technology, where would you go? If you wanted to go quick and you wanted to go big, would you go theme parks? Would you go grocery stores? Would you go somewhere else? What would be your what does your gut tell you? Where would you go and how would you do it?
Well, the gut always says that retail is the one you want to get to, because you can get more opportunities to get your product out in front of the customer, and you can sell more. But I would do a three-prong approach. If I had the ability to do that, I would not only do it with retail, but this is a school product for sure. So these could be school products, and then special events. So I think that three-prong way of doing it would cover a more flat production year, and you could have more just-in-time production. So I'm thinking big picture, not only to get the product out there and what platform it would be in, but also how it would be produced in the plants. Because if you have three different segments that you're supplying, they don't always have the same season. Schools don't have the same season as events. So you're kind of flattening out your production. And when it comes to seeing if this fits within your production scheduling, this would be a good one that has a good flat line throughout the year with some peaks and valleys that you can handle. Plus, you're hitting all the three major markets I consider. I don't have food service in there, but you could consider schools as food service. Yeah. So I would say that if you had the ability to start with a blank canvas and create a product that you wanted to attract as many people to, those are the three segments that I would look at, and then have a design, sales, and marketing plan that would cover those three segments. So, you heard the expression, go big or go home. I think in this case, it would be something that you can handle, because you've got the ability to, if you run these through and something changes, let's say you had three flavors you wanted to do in three different designs. Well, the two of them take off like gangbusters, but the third one's not. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to have another set of molds and, do some changing in the packaging. But it's an easier changeover than it would be if you had to go out and do it the conventional way. That would cost more money and take more time.
Yeah, I've heard those prices, and it still makes my head spin when I compare our technology to the way things are to the way things are currently being made. Which is still, I find flabbergasting, because most parties are still very reluctant to believe like that. But it sounds too good to be true. That there must be something wrong with it.
Well, like anything, that comes along, if it's not what's been on the market before, everybody's hesitant to try it or see it because they don't know how long it's going to last. But I think with this design, I think the biggest attribute this has is if you can find a design, you can make a mold for it, and then you can produce that product in that mold. And of the molds that I've seen, there's a lot of definition, so you can really tell it is what it says it is. So it gives that better definition that some of the current molded products don't have, because of the way that it's filled. So there's a different way that this works and filled than the conventional way, which is another what I call aspect of it that's a good seller when you go to present the presentation.
Yeah, got it. Robert, my last question: anything that you think that I should be asking for somebody like yourself, an expert in the frozen confection world, and especially having in-depth understanding on how things have been produced and shipped, and logistics and retail and everything around that, running from one factory to another. somebody like myself who is very new still to the industry, what am I not seeing? What are the kind of questions that I'm failing to ask?
Well, the one thing that is the frozen side of it. Today, the conventional machine has a frozen aspect to it, so that it comes off the machine frozen. I think if that can be well developed, that would add another value to the product, and it would attract probably the bigger players in it because of the labor savings of not having to static harden it. So I think that in itself would add another value of attraction for this kind of technology. But I don't think it's a deal breaker now, because there's still a lot of people that do static hardening in their products, whether it's ice cream or some water ice. So yeah. I think that it's got its day today, that some people will be attracted to this and would want to at least look at the information and seeing how it would fit into their platform or products and what their vision of what they want to make in the future.
Got it.
I think the biggest attribute is quicker to market. I mean, if you come up with a gangbuster design, the quicker you get it out there, the quicker you can reap your sales dollars. I mean, your dollars, and you have the ability to flex to new products right after that, so you can start adding more retail shelf space of your products.
Got it. So, hey, Robert, really thank you so much for taking the time answering my simple questions, and also for the ones listening. I hope you're also starting to get a grip of why it is so important to involve people from a totally different background, and which I call then coming together as a value network. So once you get people from different industries with totally different backgrounds coming together, then you're able to create something completely different and completely novel, which generally does not happen within industries which are there to incrementally improve themselves. And then you have this kind of the same buddies have been in the same room for decades, so most likely they're not going to be coming up with the disruption for their own industry, like let's say Airbnb disrupting hotels, or Uber disrupting taxis. So right. That's kind of what we're on about with our value network. So again, thanks for the time, and see you for more chats.
Thank you.